Welcome to Zoe Stories. I turned my husband into a girl. The bedroom door clicked shut behind me, and I froze. There she was, Isabella, standing perfectly still, her eyes tracing the pile of dresses I had hurriedly thrown onto the chair. She didn't look angry. Not exactly. Her expression was sharp, calculated, like she had been expecting this moment for weeks. "You've been hiding something," she said, stepping closer. Every movement she made was deliberate, measured. My heart raced, but not just from fear. From somewhere deep, a mix of anticipation and nervous excitement stirred, and I hated how much I hated being caught. Before I could respond, she reached for the pastel pink dress, lying on the chair. "We're going to do this properly," she said, holding it up in front of me. Her voice was soft but carried an undeniable authority. "No more half measures. You're going to let me turn you into her, completely." I swallowed hard. My secret life, hours spent in my apartment, alone, dressing and experimenting, was about to become reality under her control. Not just reality. A performance she would direct, every detail under her command. Her hands were steady as she guided me to stand, adjusting my posture, guiding my arms. She brushed down the fabric, smoothing every wrinkle, every fold. I felt the cool silk against my skin and froze, my pulse spiking. Vulnerability and thrill collided inside me, sharper than any fear I had felt before. "You're tense," she murmured. Her fingers traced my jawline, and I shivered. "Relax. Trust me." I wanted to, but it wasn't easy. Trusting someone with the secret, someone holding the power to expose or transform me, it was terrifying. And yet, something in her calm, commanding presence made me nod. By the time she was finished, every trace of my old self felt like it had been peeled away. Makeup softened my features, the dress hugged in ways I didn't expect, the wig tamed my unruly hair into perfect curls. I barely recognized the reflection staring back at me. Vulnerable, exposed, beautiful. Isabella smiled, a mix of pride and something darker I couldn't quite name. "Welcome to your other life," she said. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just cross-dressing. This was transformation on her terms, and I was powerless to resist. Ethan had always thought of his life as normal, predictable routines, long hours at the office, evenings spent with Isabella, and weekends that blended into a quiet, domestic rhythm. But there was a secret buried deep beneath the surface, one he had never revealed to anyone, not even Isabella. Cross-dressing wasn't just a passing curiosity for him, it was a private escape, a world where he could explore the parts of himself that society and expectation had told him to hide. It wasn't something he had chosen lightly. Growing up, he remembered sneaking into his sister's wardrobe as a boy, fascinated by the softness of fabric against the skin, the way a blouse or skirt could transform not just the body, but the way one carried themselves. The thrill of hiding, the excitement of trying something forbidden, had stayed with him into adulthood, morphing into a ritual that was deeply personal and intimately private. This particular evening, however, felt different. Ethan had returned home early from work, the apartment quiet except for the hum of the heating system. Isabella was still out, though he didn't know exactly when she'd be back. He wandered past the kitchen, mindlessly flipping through emails on his phone, when a small package caught his attention. It wasn't labeled with his name, yet he recognized the sender, a discreet boutique online, specializing in the exact kind of clothing that thrilled him. His heart raced. He hadn't ordered anything recently, or had he? He tore open the package with trembling hands. Inside were a series of delicate, pastel-colored garments, a soft blouse, a pleated skirt, and a pair of ballet flats. Each piece was carefully folded, the fabric smooth and inviting. A shiver ran through him, not of fear, but of anticipation. He had been secretly collecting clothes like these for years, yet this package felt different, almost as if it had been delivered specifically for him, inviting him into a world he had longed to fully inhabit. For a long moment, Ethan just stared at the clothes, imagining the sensation of each piece on his skin, the way the mirror would reflect a version of himself he rarely allowed anyone to see. His pulse quickened as he thought about the transformation, how he would walk, move, and breathe differently. It was thrilling, intoxicating, and terrifying all at once. Isabella's return loomed in his mind like a shadow. What would she think if she found him dressed like this? Would she laugh, scold, or simply walk away in shock? The uncertainty sent a ripple of anxiety through him, yet it didn't deter him. The desire to experience this fully, even for a few stolen moments, overpowered his fear. He knew he had to try it, if only to feel alive in a way his ordinary life never allowed. Stripping down to his underwear, he slid the blouse over his head, letting the soft fabric brush against his skin. The skirt followed, twirling around his legs as he adjusted it, marveling at the sensation. He was careful, almost ritualistic, smoothing the material, adjusting the hem, and practicing the posture he knew would complete the illusion. When he finally faced the mirror, his reflection startled him. The person staring back was both familiar and completely foreign, a version of himself that existed only in these private moments of transformation. It was then that his phone buzzed, a message from Isabella. "Hey, I'm running late. Should be home in an hour. Don't start dinner without me, winky face." Ethan's heart skipped. The window was narrow. He had only an hour to indulge in his secret world before Isabella returned, before reality intruded on this carefully constructed fantasy. Every second felt precious, and every movement carried the thrill of danger. He walked around the apartment, swaying slightly, testing how the skirt moved, feeling the ballet flats against his feet, and reveling in the subtle elegance of his stance. But the excitement was laced with tension. Every noise, the distant hum of traffic, the creak of the floorboards, even the rustle of the package he had discarded, made him jump. The knowledge that Isabella could walk through the door at any moment was both terrifying and exhilarating. He knew the secret he carried was fragile, like glass balanced on the edge of a table, and one wrong move could shatter it entirely. He tried to focus on the sensation, on the way the clothing transformed him, but a creeping anxiety remained. What if she discovered his secret? What if the trust and love they shared were disrupted forever? Ethan pushed the thought aside, forcing himself to concentrate on the moment. This was his time, his ritual, and for the next hour, nothing else existed except the soft brush of fabric, the reflection in the mirror, and the exhilarating thrill of becoming someone else entirely. And in the back of his mind, a single thought echoed, both thrilling and horrifying. What if tonight wasn't just about experimenting? What if tonight marked the beginning of something irreversible, a journey into transformation that would change everything he thought he knew about himself and Isabella's perception of him? Ethan didn't hear the front door open. He didn't even notice the soft click of the lock behind him. All of his senses were tuned to the small space of the bedroom, where he had set up his secret stage. On the bed, a carefully arranged selection of outfits glimmered in the dim light: silk blouses, pleated skirts, delicate shoes, each piece calling to him like a forbidden treasure. His hands trembled slightly as he reached for the softest fabric, a pastel pink blouse that he had stared at all week. It wasn't just about the clothes tonight. It was the thrill, the edge of danger. The knowledge that at any moment, someone could walk in, Isabella, a neighbor, even a delivery person, and discover everything. That possibility made his heartbeat quicken, made his skin tingle. Every brush of satin against his arms sent shivers down his spine, blending excitement with fear. He paused and looked in the mirror, really looked. The reflection staring back wasn't just a man in women's clothes. It was someone caught between two worlds. One foot in secrecy, one foot in a fantasy where rules didn't apply. His chest tightened, not from the blouse, but from the realization that he wanted this, wanted it more than he had ever admitted to himself. A text buzzed on the nightstand. He picked it up with shaking fingers. "Feeling playful tonight, you?" Isabella's words hit him like lightning. Playful. That one word carried so many implications. Was she testing him? Watching him? Or was it an invitation? A dare disguised as flirtation? He couldn't be sure, and that uncertainty only made his pulse race faster. He typed back cautiously. "Maybe just exploring." Almost immediately, her reply arrived. "Exploring? Can be fun. Want me to join? Ethan froze. Join? Did she mean it literally, or was she teasing? The line between reality and imagination blurred in his mind. His pulse pounded. The thrill wasn't just in the crossdressing anymore, it was in the game Isabella had unknowingly, or maybe knowingly, started. He glanced at the clock. 10 minutes to decide. 10 minutes to risk exposure, or back away. The fabric of the skirt felt impossibly smooth in his hands, the colors richer than anything he had ever worn. His reflection became a mirror of his inner tension, excitement, fear, curiosity, and desire all rolled into one. The thought of Isabella's eyes on him, even if just imagined, made his hands tighten on the waistband of the skirt. He imagined her walking in, assessing him with a mix of surprise and amusement. "You've been naughty," she'd say, voice low, teasing, commanding. And then, the real test. Would he respond honestly? Would he show her everything? Or would he scramble to hide the truth? Ethan took a deep breath. He knew he couldn't stop now. Every fiber of his being demanded he continue, demanded he explore the secret further. The thrill of being caught, the intensity of the unknown, the pull of his own desires, all combined to form a potent mix he could no longer resist. With deliberate movements, he began layering the outfits, one piece at a time, feeling the transformation with every touch. Each article of clothing was more than fabric. It was a symbol of the life he had longed to live in secret, a life Isabella might one day see. And somewhere deep down, he knew, tonight wasn't just about crossdressing. Tonight, the game had begun, and there was no turning back. Ethan stood in front of the full-length mirror, heart hammering. The soft fabrics clung to him differently than he expected, silk against skin, lace tracing the contours of his body. Each layer felt like shedding an old skin, revealing a part of himself he had kept buried for years. His reflection didn't just show clothes. It reflected desire, vulnerability, and a growing confidence he hadn't dared to feel before. He adjusted the skirt, feeling the sway with every slight movement. The blouse was delicate, hugging his arms just enough to remind him that this was not a costume, it was a transformation. He touched his face, tracing the lines with fingertips that trembled slightly, and imagined Isabella's eyes assessing him. Would she see the man she married, or the woman he was becoming tonight? A soft knock on the door froze him. Panic flared. Isabella? No, he reminded himself. She wasn't supposed to be home yet. But the knock repeated, insistent. The sound echoed in his chest like a warning bell. He glanced at the mirror again, meeting his own eyes. "I can do this," he whispered to himself. Each word felt heavy, filled with unspoken tension. He turned back to the wardrobe, selecting a delicate pair of stockings. Sliding them up his legs, he felt a thrill and a vulnerability at the same time. The sensation was intimate, dangerous. He paused, wondering if he had gone too far. Then he caught sight of a small hairbrush on the dresser. Nervously, he ran it through his hair, imagining how Isabella might react if she walked in right now. Would she laugh? Judge him? Or would she be intrigued, fascinated by the hidden side of the man she thought she knew? The knock came again, louder this time. His stomach dropped. Ethan froze, staring at the doorknob, debating. Hide or confront? Every instinct screamed different answers. He imagined slipping into the closet like he had when he was a kid, except now, he wasn't just hiding from a sibling. This was adulthood. This was exposure. He shook his head, trying to focus. The thrill of risk, the rush of adrenaline, and the longing for acceptance all collided inside him. The mirror reflected not just a transformed figure but a crossroads. Retreat back into secrecy, or step fully into the world he longed to explore. With a trembling hand, he picked up the final piece, a small pair of ballet flats, soft and elegant. Sliding them onto his feet, he felt the final seal of transformation. His reflection now looked complete, delicate, polished, entirely different, and yet entirely him. The girl in the mirror was a part of him that had always been waiting for release. The knocking stopped. Ethan exhaled, his chest heaving with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. Alone again, He stood still, letting the silence fill the room. For the first time, he allowed himself to truly see what he had become. Not just a man in women's clothes, not just— Then, a text buzzed on his phone. It was Isabella. "You're quiet tonight, everything okay?" The words, simple yet loaded, made him freeze. He was caught between fantasy and reality, between fear and exhilaration. Every fiber of his being screamed with tension. Could he tell her the truth? Could he share the secret? Or would he have to hide it, risking discovery in even more dangerous ways? The mirror reflected his indecision, his heart, and the duality of who he was. And in that reflection, Ethan realized that the thrill of the transformation wasn't just in the clothes, it was in the unknown, in the possibility of being seen, truly seen, by someone who mattered. The game had escalated. The stakes were higher, and Ethan, standing fully transformed, knew he was teetering on the edge of a choice that could change everything. Ethan had just settled into the rhythm of his new persona when the doorbell rang. His heart jumped. He wasn't expecting anyone. Panic washed over him as he adjusted the blouse, smoothing the fabric down his arms. Every sound seemed magnified now. The ticking of the clock, the faint hum of the refrigerator, the distant rumble of traffic outside. Peeking through the blinds, he saw a familiar face. Isabella's best friend, Lena. She was smiling, holding a small package. Ethan froze. Lena was the last person he wanted to see right now. She was outspoken, sharp, and always had a way of noticing things that others missed. If she saw him like this— He retreated to the bedroom, trying to think fast. Hide? Explain? Disguise? His mind raced as he considered his options. The closet seemed too small now, the stakes too high. But there was no time. Lena's footsteps approached the door, her knock insistent. "Ethan? You in there?" "I brought the package Isabella asked me to drop off." He swallowed hard, trying to steady his voice. "You can do this. Just play it cool." Taking a deep breath, he opened the door slightly, just enough to peek out. Lena's eyes widened, not in shock, but with curiosity. "Well, is that?" she began, gesturing vaguely at his outfit. Ethan felt heat rush to his cheeks. His voice caught. "It's a costume. For a party tonight." Lena tilted her head, studying him. "Really? A bold choice. Looks nice, actually." Her tone was teasing but not cruel. She handed over the package. Ethan's hands trembled slightly as he took it. As she left, Ethan closed the door and leaned against it, exhaling in relief. But the encounter left a lingering tension. He had been lucky this time, but what if someone else came home unexpectedly? Or worse, what if Isabella returned early? He walked back to the mirror, examining himself. The reflection wasn't just a costume, it was him, fully embracing a part of himself that had been secret for so long. And yet, the fear of discovery was real, pressing, tangible. The thrill of transformation was inseparable from the anxiety of exposure. Determined not to let fear take over, Ethan decided to push the boundaries a bit more. He experimented with makeup, carefully applying eyeliner and mascara, feeling the textures, the way the brush glided against his skin. Each stroke heightened both his excitement and his nervousness. Then came the final touch, a wig. Sliding it onto his head, he adjusted it in front of the mirror, making sure every strand was in place. His reflection now looked polished, confident, and undeniably feminine. Yet, inside, he felt exposed, vulnerable, thrilled. The doorbell rang again. Ethan froze. "Who now?" He peeked through the blinds and saw a delivery man holding another package. His pulse quickened. Each unexpected visitor was a potential disaster. He realized that his secret life, as exhilarating as it was, came with real risks, and the thrill was as much about navigating these risks as it was about the transformation itself. Sitting on the edge of the bed, Ethan reflected on his situation. The combination of fear, excitement, and identity exploration was intoxicating. He knew this night would change something inside him. He wasn't just playing dress-up anymore. He was exploring a hidden truth, and every knock, every unexpected sound reminded him just how fragile the boundary between his secret and discovery really was. By the time the sun began to set, Ethan had pushed himself further than ever before. He walked around the apartment, testing the heels, practicing his posture, adjusting his movements to match the persona in the mirror. The thrill of crossdressing, once secretive and hidden, was becoming a complex dance of identity, risk, and emotion. And as he heard a car pull into the driveway, his breath caught. Isabella's car. She had returned early. Ethan had thought he knew his own limits. He had experimented in secrecy, indulged in his curiosity, and pushed boundaries, but nothing had prepared him for the quiet thrill of being fully immersed in his feminine persona without anyone watching. The apartment was empty, the city outside alive with lights and noise, but inside, time seemed to bend. He wandered to the living room, adjusting the skirt of his outfit, feeling the satin glide over his legs. The sensation was intoxicating, soft, delicate, and entirely unlike anything he had worn before. His hands lingered on the fabric as if trying to memorize every fold, every texture. He realized this wasn't just about curiosity anymore. It was about exploring a hidden part of himself he hadn't fully admitted even to his own mind. On the coffee table lay a photo album, left open from a previous evening. It showed moments of him and Isabella together, smiling at the beach, laughing during dinner, celebrating birthdays. He studied her expression in each photo, the way she moved, the confidence she exuded. The thought struck him suddenly. What if he could understand her world, even for a short while, by stepping fully into this new persona? With a mischievous glance at the mirror, he experimented with voice, softening the tone, testing the cadence. His reflection looked almost ethereal, and for a moment, he felt a rush of power, the power of transformation, of becoming someone completely different, yet still undeniably himself. Then came the internal struggle. His pulse quickened, anxiety gnawing at the edges of his excitement. What if Isabella saw me like this? What would she think? The thrill of crossdressing was inseparable from the fear of exposure. Each step, each movement in the heels, felt like walking a tightrope over a chasm of potential embarrassment and judgment. Ethan decided to test himself further. He opened a drawer filled with accessories, necklaces, bracelets, hair clips, and began experimenting with combinations. Each addition to his outfit felt like a layer of identity, peeling away the ordinary facade he wore in everyday life. He caught himself smiling in the mirror, the reflection a mix of curiosity, fear, and exhilaration. Hours passed unnoticed. The city lights outside shifted, the hum of traffic changing as night deepened. Ethan felt both liberated and imprisoned, liberated by the freedom to explore, imprisoned by the constant awareness that discovery was only a knock away. Finally, he settled on a delicate charm bracelet and a pair of dangling earrings. He ran his fingers along the smooth metal, tracing the shapes, and realized he felt empowered. The physical transformation was no longer just about clothing. It was a declaration of a hidden truth, a secret identity that had long waited for expression. As he posed in the mirror, testing angles, the sound of the front door unlocking sent a jolt through his body. Heart racing, he ducked behind the couch, clutching the edges of his outfit. The apartment door swung open, and he heard Isabella's voice calling out, cheerful and unaware. "I'm home, Ethan." The tension was electric. His secret, his hidden desires, were teetering on the edge of exposure. The thrill of transformation was now inseparable from the fear of being discovered, and he realized that this night would mark a turning point, not just in his self-exploration, but in his relationship with Isabella. He held his breath, hoping she wouldn't notice anything out of place, while every fiber of his being urged him to stay fully immersed in the persona that felt more alive than his ordinary self. Ethan had grown bold over the past few nights. The apartment, once a sanctuary of secrecy, now felt like a stage for his private performances. Each outfit, each makeup experiment, was a step deeper into a world he had always dreamed of but never dared to fully enter. Yet, with every daring step, the tension coiled tighter, reminding him that secrets are fragile things. It started as a simple plan: try on the new dress Isabella had bought for a charity gala she was attending. It was bold, a deep crimson with a flowing skirt and delicate lace trimming. Ethan had admired it from the closet for weeks, imagining how it would feel on him. Tonight, alone in the apartment, he would finally wear it. As he slipped into the dress, he felt a shiver of excitement. The fabric clung in all the right places, the lace soft against his skin. He twirled slowly, watching the skirt fan out around him, feeling an unfamiliar elegance take over his posture. He practiced walking, heels clicking against the wooden floor, each step making him feel more alive in this persona. Then, a sound froze him, a key turning in the lock. Isabella. She had returned early. Ethan's heart pounded in his chest, and for a split second, panic gripped him like a vice. He was still in the dress, makeup perfectly applied, wig slightly askew. There was nowhere to hide. He ducked behind the sofa, clutching the skirt, willing her to come into the other room first. But fate had other plans. Isabella entered, humming softly, carrying groceries, her eyes scanning the living room, and then they landed on him. The silence that followed was unbearable. Ethan felt exposed, every heartbeat loud in his ears. Isabella's expression shifted from casual to confused, then to something unreadable. He wanted to explain, to apologize, to disappear all at once, but no words came. Finally, she spoke, her voice calm but edged with curiosity. "Ethan, is that you?" Ethan froze. The question was simple, yet it carried the weight of judgment, excitement, and fear all at once. He realized in that moment that this was not just about a secret anymore. It was about trust, vulnerability, and the risk of being seen for who he truly was. He stepped out from behind the sofa, every movement deliberate, hands gripping the skirt to keep it from tangling. Isabella's eyes roamed over him, taking in the makeup, the dress, the delicate earrings. Ethan held his breath, expecting anger, disappointment, or worse, laughter. Instead, Isabella's expression softened. She knelt slightly to be at eye level with him, her voice gentle. "I had no idea. I suspected you liked experimenting, but this is amazing." Ethan's mind spun. Relief and terror collided. She wasn't angry, but the vulnerability of the moment made him feel more exposed than ever. Isabella extended a hand, hesitant but inviting. "Do you want me to help you?" The offer sent a wave of emotion through him. Trust, acceptance, and a thrill of excitement surged together. For the first time, Ethan realized that his secret desire didn't have to be hidden alone. The risk, the fear, and the suspense had brought him to a turning point. He could embrace this part of himself openly, at least with Isabella. As they moved toward the bedroom, the dress flowing around him, Ethan's heart was still racing, but now, it wasn't just fear. It was anticipation, wonder, and the intoxicating possibility that his private world could finally have a witness, someone who understood. And as Isabella reached for the makeup kit, he couldn't help but wonder, how far would they take this transformation together? Ethan had always been careful, almost obsessively so. The thrill of wearing women's clothing, the rush of applying makeup, and the delicate art of walking in heels had become his secret addiction. But tonight, something felt different, a spark of mischief that made his pulse race even faster than usual. Isabella wasn't home. That alone was enough for him to feel invincible. He tiptoed to the wardrobe she hadn't locked, a treasure trove of silk, lace, and delicate fabrics that seemed almost magical in their potential. Each garment whispered possibilities. Each pair of shoes promised transformation. His fingers lingered over a navy blue cocktail dress, the satin smooth under his fingertips. He imagined the way it would hug his shoulders, flare over his hips, and make him feel complete. As he began to undress, he hesitated, thinking of how carefully he had to manage his double life. Each moment of indulgence came with the knowledge that discovery could shatter everything, his marriage, his reputation, his sense of self. Yet that tension only made the experience more intoxicating. He slid the dress over his head, feeling the cool satin against his chest and stomach. He caught himself in the mirror and froze. It wasn't just a reflection, it was a vision of someone he had longed to be. Someone free, elegant and unashamed. Then, a sound jolted him, his phone buzzing with a notification. He fumbled, nearly toppling the heels he had carefully positioned. It was a message from Isabella. Running late at work. Bring your surprise downstairs. Can't wait to see you. Ethan's stomach sank. She was coming home, and he was dressed in full evening attire. Panic collided with exhilaration. He could hide, but hiding felt cowardly after all the care he'd put into this transformation. Instead, he decided to play a dangerous game. He would greet her like this, see her reaction, and measure her tolerance. Minutes later, he heard the keys jingling in the lock. His heart hammered, but a thrill ran through him. He smoothed the dress, adjusted the wig, and took a deep breath. When Isabella stepped through the door, Ethan froze mid-step, letting her take in the full reveal. Her eyes widened, not in shock, but in amusement, tinged with admiration. "Well, this is unexpected," she said, her tone teasing but gentle. "Did you dress up for me?" Ethan's mouth went dry. His voice trembled. I wanted to try, and I thought maybe," he trailed off, unsure how to finish. Isabella's laugh, soft and musical, cut through his anxiety. "You thought maybe what? That I'd scream? Or that I'd tell you to change immediately?" Ethan shook his head, the tension in his chest easing slightly. I wanted to see if I could be like this, with you knowing." Isabella stepped closer, inspecting the intricate lace and folds of the dress. "You look incredible," she said finally, her voice warm. "I've never seen you like this, and I have to admit, it suits you." The words hit Ethan like a jolt of electricity. Relief, excitement, and a new wave of boldness surged through him. Isabella wasn't judging. She was intrigued. The secret world he had feared exposing was suddenly shared. That night, they played a game of trust and experimentation. Isabella suggested new makeup techniques, helping him contour and highlight his features. She adjusted the wig, teaching him how to let it frame his face naturally. Every touch was precise but tender, a mixture of instruction and connection. Ethan realized he had never felt this alive, exposed, yes, but also accepted. The suspense of discovery had transformed into a shared thrill, a dance of intimacy that neither had anticipated. And as the night stretched on, the apartment became their private stage, where identities could shift, roles could be explored, and the boundaries of trust were tested with every dress, every pair of heels, every brushstroke of makeup. By the time they paused, exhausted and exhilarated, Ethan knew one thing for certain. His life had changed. The secret was no longer just his. Isabella was now part of this world, a partner in transformation, a co-conspirator in a game that blurred the lines between fear, desire, and freedom. And yet, in the back of his mind, a question lingered. How far would this game go? How much could they explore before someone or something intervened? The thrill of the unknown hung over them, more potent than any dress or makeup could convey. The room was quiet except for the soft click of heels against the wooden floor. Every movement felt amplified, each rustle of fabric making the heart race faster. The dress hugged the body in ways that were thrilling yet frightening, a constant reminder of the secret being kept. Just as the final touches of makeup were smoothed on, the doorbell rang. A jolt of panic shot through the body. Who could it be at this hour? Every instinct screamed to hide, but escape wasn't simple. The outfit was elegant but restrictive. He froze, listening. Another ring, then a knock. The timing was impossible. Cautiously, he approached the door, moving silently behind a curtain to get a glimpse outside. A shadow shifted in the hallway, a figure whose presence immediately set the nerves on edge. A familiar voice asked for someone whose name instantly triggered a wave of dread. There was no time to think. Retreating was risky. Hiding would reveal him instantly. Every heartbeat thumped against his chest, louder than the knocking outside. Swallowing hard, he opened the door just slightly, attempting to maintain an air of normalcy. "Hi, can I help you?" The voice sounded shaky, faltering, betraying the panic underneath. The visitor's eyes widened. Confusion, Suspicion and recognition mingled in the gaze that studied him carefully. Something was off, undeniably so. I'm just checking the door for a delivery," came the awkward explanation, fragile and transparent. The visitor stepped closer, brows furrowed. "Are you sure?" Suspicion lingered in the tone, sharp and insistent. Time stretched unbearably. One wrong move, one glance, one slip of composure, and the carefully hidden secret would be exposed. The mind raced, desperately searching for a distraction, a way to shift attention before the truth could surface. "Oh, the doorbell. Maybe it's the delivery guy," was the hasty, faltering suggestion. The visitor paused, curiosity momentarily diverted, and a tiny window of opportunity opened. Carefully, step by step, he sidestepped into the room, keeping movements controlled, aware of every sound, every breath, every flicker of the visitor's gaze. The tension hung thick in the air, a fragile balance between discovery and survival, between exposure and secrecy. The secret wasn't safe yet. Each second stretched into eternity. Every instinct screamed that this was only the beginning of the test. The visitor lingered in the doorway, glancing around the room with a suspicion that set every nerve on edge. Every instinct screamed to stay calm, to appear normal, but even the slightest twitch of an eyebrow or tremble of the hands could give everything away. The heels clicked against the floor as he shifted weight from one foot to the other, desperately trying to appear casual. Each breath felt shallow, each heartbeat thundering like a drum in his chest. The fabric of the dress rustled softly, betraying the tension he was trying to mask. "Are you alone?" the visitor asked, voice low, cautious. That single question made the mind race. Should he admit being alone, or risk a lie that could be questioned further? Quick thinking became the only lifeline. "Yeah, just me," came the reply, voice steady despite the quiver underneath. He offered a small, nervous smile, praying it appeared genuine. The visitor squinted, suspicion sharpening, and the seconds stretched into unbearable eternity. Suddenly, a noise from the next room, a dropped object, the faint shuffle of movement, made him flinch. The visitor's gaze snapped toward the sound. The panic rising in the chest was almost unbearable. Every muscle tensed. "Everything okay?" the visitor probed, taking a small step inside. Each motion was amplified, each shift of the body a potential revelation. The heart pounded so hard it was almost impossible to hear anything else. A bead of sweat trickled down the temple as he desperately searched for a way to regain control. The mind spun. How to distract, to redirect attention, to buy time? Fingers brushed the edge of the vanity mirror, and an idea sparked. "Oh, I just wanted to check something for my, project," he said quickly, grabbing a notebook from the table and holding it out. The visitor paused, curiosity pulling attention away just enough. Seconds passed in silence, the air thick with suspense. The visitor leaned slightly closer, examining the book, the explanation, the body language, looking for cracks. Every second felt like a lifetime, every blink a potential exposure. Finally, the visitor stepped back slightly, murmuring something about checking the delivery later. The window of danger narrowed, the relief almost unbearable. But deep down, he knew this was only the beginning. The secret had been almost exposed, and the knowledge that discovery was imminent hung like a storm cloud overhead. The dress felt heavier, the makeup warmer under the lights, every sensation magnified by adrenaline. The room was quiet once more, but the echo of the visitor's scrutiny lingered, a haunting reminder that the thrill and terror of this secret life were inseparable. The suspense wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Just as the room seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, the unmistakable sound of keys jingling at the front door sliced through the tense silence. Panic surged immediately. The visitor had not left entirely. He had only stepped away for a moment, and now the return of someone else threatened to unravel everything. The mind raced, calculating options in fractions of a second. Change back into normal clothes? Impossible. The dress was tight, the wig slightly askew, and makeup smeared from nervous fidgeting. Hiding? The closet seemed small, but it might have to do. Footsteps grew closer, heavier, accompanied by the faint click of a door opening somewhere else in the house. The visitor was still there, lingering by the doorway, perhaps now sensing the stakes even higher. A glance toward him confirmed that both of them shared the same silent panic. Then came the twist, a sudden, sharp laugh from another room. A voice, familiar, casual, completely unaware of the chaos brewing in the room. It was as if fate itself had decided to intervene. Both froze. Who had entered? The visitor turned toward the sound, curiosity piqued, and that split-second glance was all it took for suspicion to ignite. What are you doing in here?" The visitor's tone had shifted subtly, no longer casual, now edged with concern and a hint of accusation. The laughter from the other room grew louder, completely masking the footsteps approaching. Desperation took over. Every nerve screamed for movement, but every instinct warned that one wrong step would expose everything. In a blur of adrenaline-fueled decision-making, he dove behind the dressing screen, careful not to knock over the clothes rack. The rustle of fabric, the soft tap of heels on the floor, every sound amplified in the tense stillness. The visitor moved closer, eyes scanning, every sense alert. The familiar voice from the other room called again, teasing, oblivious to the tension. It was a cruel twist of irony. The distraction both saved and endangered him. He held his breath, hoping against reason that he would remain unnoticed. Minutes felt like hours. The visitor stepped back slightly, frustration evident, muttering under his breath. The other voice had now entered the room, humming lightly, completely unaware of the secret life hidden just a few feet away. Relief and terror collided, a volatile mix of emotions that made the heart pound harder than ever. By the skin of his teeth, the immediate danger passed, but the knowledge remained. This close call had escalated the stakes. The secret was fragile, the thrill immense, and every choice moving forward would be even more dangerous. The physical sensations, the tight dress, the uncomfortable wig, the heavy weight of makeup, were no longer just curiosities. They were weapons in a tense game of concealment and revelation. And in that suspended moment, it became painfully clear. The game had only just begun. The visitor might leave, or return. Someone else might notice, or misinterpret. Every heartbeat, every breath, every whispered thought could betray him. The transformation that once felt liberating now carried the edge of an imminent storm, and nothing would ever feel the same again. Time slowed to a crawl. Every sound felt deafening. The creak of the floorboards, the faint hum of the heater, even the subtle swish of the fabric brushing against skin. Hiding behind the dressing screen, heart hammering, there was no clear escape. The visitor had paused mid-step, turning slowly as if sensing something was off, eyes scanning the room with a quiet intensity that made every instinct scream, danger. Panic flared, yet beneath it, a strange thrill surged. The risk, the secrecy, the adrenaline, it all made the transformation feel more intoxicating. Wearing the delicate dress, the tight wig slightly slipping, makeup now smudging in nervous sweeps, every detail heightened the stakes. It was no longer a game of curiosity. It was survival, secrecy, and the fragile thrill of forbidden indulgence. Then, the visitor leaned closer, voice soft but probing. "Are you?" The words hung in the air unfinished, like a blade poised to strike. A bead of sweat trickled down, mixing with the shimmer of makeup, and every muscle tensed in preparation. A sudden, sharp clatter from the vanity table, a brush falling to the floor, sent a shock through both bodies. The visitors had snapped toward the noise, eyes wide, heart racing as much as his own. This was it. Exposure was a breath away. In that split second, a choice had to be made. Remain frozen, pray for luck, or reveal the truth. The risk of discovery pressed like a weight on the chest, every second stretching into eternity. The dress's fabric clung in all the wrong and thrilling ways. The heels dug slightly into the carpet, and the wig's unnatural angle made the disguise feel simultaneously perfect and vulnerable. A A sudden laugh echoed from the other room, the oblivious voice again, breaking the tension just enough for a fleeting sense of relief. Yet the danger lingered, palpable, like a storm about to crash. Every step forward, every slight movement, every whisper of fabric could unravel the carefully guarded secret. The visitor paused, seemingly conflicted, suspicion dancing in their eyes. Could they sense the dual identity hidden just beyond the screen? Could they tell that beneath the exterior of delicate makeup and feminine clothing, a different life was concealed? And then, the moment of reckoning. The visitor stepped closer, hand hovering in hesitation, eyes narrowing, and the heartbeat echoed loud, a drumbeat of fear and exhilaration. The thrill of transformation, the shame of secrecy, the intoxicating danger, all collided into a single, frozen instant. The tension was unbearable. Any move could expose everything. Yet part of him reveled in it, a dangerous, dizzying pleasure that made hiding feel almost like a game. The room held its breath. Outside, the other voice hummed, innocent, unaware. Inside, every muscle, every thought, every breath was a gamble. And in that moment, nothing felt safe, nothing predictable, nothing ordinary. The secret life teetered on the edge, poised between revelation and concealment, and only a single, precarious heartbeat would decide the next move. The tension had been building for what felt like hours, but in reality, it was only minutes. Every shadow in the room seemed alive, every reflection in the mirror a judge silently waiting to expose the truth. Hiding behind the dressing screen, every breath felt like a betrayal, every heartbeat like a drum announcing impending doom. The heels dug uncomfortably into the carpet, the wig itched against the scalp, and the dress, once a source of thrill, felt heavier with each passing second, a symbol of both exhilaration and vulnerability. Suddenly, the visitor's hand brushed the edge of the screen. The touch was almost imperceptible, yet it sent a shock straight through the body. Eyes widened in panic, mind racing for an escape that didn't exist. The instinct was clear. Freeze, disappear into the shadows, hope this was just a test of nerves. Yet beneath the fear, a strange, undeniable thrill coursed through every nerve, a dangerous mix of shame and excitement. A soft cough echoed from the doorway. The visitor was closer than ever, their eyes scanning the room, and a voice broke the silence, calm but probing. "I know something's not right." The words hung like a knife, slicing through the fragile barrier of safety. Panic surged. Should the secret be revealed? Or should the illusion be maintained, risking everything on a desperate gamble? Every second stretched into eternity as the mind spiraled, weighing exposure against the intoxicating thrill of being caught. Then, a sound, the slight rustle of fabric as the body shifted, gave away the hiding spot. The visitor's eyes snapped toward the movement. The screen trembled slightly as fingers grazed the edge, and in that frozen moment, every sense was heightened. The world had narrowed to a single point: survival, secrecy, and the perilous exhilaration of transformation. Time seemed suspended. The dress, the wig, the carefully applied makeup, every element of the transformation was now a double-edged sword. It empowered, it revealed, it endangered. And in that instant, the truth balanced precariously on the edge of exposure. Then, just as suddenly as the moment arrived, the visitor hesitated. Uncertainty flickered across their face, a pause pregnant with tension. For a heartbeat, the world was suspended, caught between revelation and concealment. And in that split second, a dangerous exhilaration surged, a reminder that the thrill of secrecy often comes with the highest stakes. The screen shivered again. Fingers lingered, breath hitched, and the moment that would decide everything had arrived. Between being discovered and remaining hidden, between fear and forbidden excitement, between exposure and the intoxicating rush of living a secret life. The air was thick with tension, so dense it felt like it could be cut with a knife. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of fabric, amplified in the ears. Standing frozen, the realization sank in. There was no hiding this time. The carefully constructed illusion, The hours of transformation and the intoxicating thrill of secrecy were all about to collide with reality. A shadow moved across the doorway. The visitor's gaze swept the room with a sharp intensity, and suddenly, every instinct screamed to run, but the heels pinned the body to the spot, the dress clinging in ways that made even a small movement feel dangerous. The makeup, once a source of pride, now felt like a mask of betrayal, reflecting back the dual life that had been kept hidden for so long. "You've been keeping secrets," the voice said, low but certain. There was no anger, no accusation, just an unsettling calm that made the heart hammer harder. The words were simple, yet they carried the weight of judgment, the weight of exposure. For a moment, time slowed. Every thought, every feeling, collided inside: fear, excitement, shame, exhilaration. This was the climax of everything, of the hidden desires, the forbidden thrill, the delicate balance between self-expression and the risk of discovery. Then the visitor stepped closer, closer than anyone had dared in the past. Fingers reached out, not to strike, but almost in curiosity. The subtle brush of a hand against the wig sent shivers down the spine, a reminder of vulnerability. A mirror on the wall reflected the scene. The person who had been hidden behind layers of fabric, makeup, and wigs now fully exposed, their dual identity mirrored back in stark reality. The choice was clear: stay frozen and risk confrontation, or step forward, embrace the truth, and face whatever came next. The mind raced, weighing fear against the adrenaline-fueled thrill that had driven every secret decision. The visitor's gaze held a mix of curiosity and understanding, leaving the outcome suspended in a delicate, tense moment. And then a small, almost imperceptible smile flickered across the visitor's face. A single word broke the silence, shattering the suspense, yet leaving the tension intact. "Interesting." The word hung in the air like a challenge. A cliffhanger, unresolved, daring the next move. Would the secret remain hidden? Would judgment come? Or unexpected acceptance? The final confrontation had arrived, and the answer was anything but certain. The room fell into a heavy, almost suffocating silence. Every breath felt amplified, every heartbeat loud enough to echo off the walls. The presence in the doorway hadn't moved, hadn't spoken again, but that single word, "interesting," lingered in the air, twisting in every nerve. Every instinct screamed to do something. Run, hide, explain, but the body refused to obey. The heels dug uncomfortably into the floor. The dress clung in ways that made even the slightest movement feel like a risk. The makeup felt heavier than ever, like a mask that could no longer be lifted without revealing too much. The visitor finally took a deliberate step forward. Each motion carried the weight of judgment, of observation, of expectation. The silence stretched, time slowed, and a strange combination of dread and excitement coursed through every vein. What would happen next? Would the secret be exposed? Or would this moment, this tension, somehow be survived? A sudden sound from the hallway, a distant knock, made the heart leap. Another voice, muffled and unknown, drifted through the walls. The timing was uncanny. Was it coincidence? Or had the moment of transformation drawn others closer to the secret, threatening to unravel everything? Every object in the room seemed to take on new meaning. The mirror reflected not just an image, but a dual identity, a life split between secrecy and revelation. The wig perched on the head felt suddenly precarious, the dress a symbol of vulnerability. Even the tiniest sound, the rustle of fabric, the soft click of a heel, was a potential signal to discovery. Then, the visitor spoke again, this time softer, almost teasing. "Let's see how far this goes." The words hung in the air, charged with suspense. There was no resolution, only the anticipation of what was about to unfold. The moment ended, not with a conclusion, but with uncertainty, leaving the story poised on the edge, demanding that the audience wait, wonder, and speculate. What would you do in this situation? Would you reveal the secret, fight to maintain the disguise, or try to escape unnoticed? Comment your thoughts and predictions below, because this story is far from over. The scene fades, leaving the tension unresolved, the suspense palpable, and the next chapter waiting to erupt.